All right. What's up, everybody? We are back with a support and give business spotlight. This is a dope episode. This is one I've been looking forward to for a minute. This is a brother I've been admiring for years. I've watched him in college. I've seen the brand grow. I've seen him grow as a person and as a brand for sure. So I'm introducing Staffon Adams. Thank you for joining me, brother. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I've been a fan of you for a minute, man.
Appreciate you for having me, bro.
Of course, of course. Basically what we're gonna do is, we're gonna chop it up. I'm gonna, talk about you, talk about the brand, and it's gonna be just a fun, nice little atmosphere. So one thing I do, so I know you, you know, I know about you. I met you in college. But for those who don't know who Stephon Adams is, you mind giving a little bit of brief about you and then about, Stephon Eugene, which is the brand, the two separate things. Stephon Adams is the person, and then Stephon Eugene is the person behind the brand.
Yep. So I'm Staffon Adams. I attended and graduated from Texas State University with this good brother. I was a fashion merchandising major, so always been, super passionate about the fashion industry and from the creative side of the business to the business side of the fashion industry. I've done internships with companies like the TJX company, which is the parent company of Marshalls and TJ Maxx.
Mm.
I also went on to become an assistant buyer with Neiman Marcus, where I managed brands like Tom Ford, Ralph Lauren, Giorgio Armani. Um, I focused on the men's tailored side of the business, did that for a few years, then moved on into the stores. But to segue, at the same time that I worked at Neiman's as an assistant buyer, that's when I started my eponymous brand, Staffon Eugene. So Eugene is my middle name and Adams is my last name. And Staffon Eugene is a lifestyle brand that specializes in socks and knitwear. So this is one of my knitwear pieces that I'm wearing right now. So as I just mentioned, we specialize in socks. When I created the brand, I started with socks because I felt like there was a void in the sock industry
Mm.
for socks that were made thick enough for sneakers while still being thin enough for dress shoes, while still having a nice, appealing look at the same time. I've always been someone that appreciated both a nice pair of Magnani loafers, for example, and also a pair of Jordan 1s. So it was necessary for me to make some socks that filled that void. And so since 2015, I've been pushing myself as the sock expert, if you will. And early last year in 2024, I rolled out knitwear. And so just to speak to the logo a bit, adjust the camera. The logo here is two socks forming the letter H to show love to the fact that Staffon Eugene is a Houston-based sock
Ooh,
brand. So the H is low key like a double entendre
that's hard.
in Houston, but also I like to name all of my designs. When you go on my website, stephoneugene.com, literally every product you see on there is going to have a name. The
Mm.
name for this piece is home because I want you to feel like you're at home when you're wearing it.
All right.
So, yeah, the H will represent for Houston and home, but Houston is home.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's a dope, dope. I've seen. I've never known that it meant that. And that's man, that's fire. Also, congrats on making it 10 years. As you said, 2015. And
Yep.
for the 10 years in the game.
Appreciate it, man.
Uh,
Yeah.
um, so something that you said that so this quote that I got from you that you saw on the website, and it's kind of like what you were talking about with the socks. You said we believe socks are more than just an accessory. They're a canvas for self-expression, individuality, and embracing authentic self. And I think I love socks in general. I think socks can be like a nice fashion statement, but also, like you said, it's a self-expression in a sense. So can you like touch a little bit more on that quote and what that means to you specifically?
Yeah. So growing up, I wasn't athletic. Like I had a slight interest in sports or whatever. I used to try to keep up based on, that's what my peers were doing or whatever. But like my real interest and passion has always been fashion and music. So the arts, if you will. And I remember I used to get teased a little bit or whatever because I wasn't like everybody else. But I never let that, sway me. I knew what I was into. And, fast forward to today, I kid you not, some of those same people who used to try to, give me a hard time about that are now present day trying to get into fashion or whatever. But
Coming back to you now.
yeah, exactly. So you just got to let things play out.
Hmm.
But, from day one, I've always been, based off that example, that should tell you that I've always been about self expression, regardless about what anybody else have to say. And so for me, socks are the perfect product category that represents that mood, that attitude. I give you the example. Well, I like to give this example. Let's say we work together and we have a uniform, suits or something, right? When we sit down, our socks is going to give the glimpse of each of our personalities
Yeah.
because more times than not, the place not gonna have no stipulation on the socks. So that's the area where we get to showcase who we really are and what we really about.
Oh, that's I didn't think about that, but that makes sense though, because you're right. Because if everyone's all, tailored up, suited up, and like the suit and tie stuff, the socks is that little bit of wiggle room. You can express yourself through that and still have a little bit of yourself within that mix. Oh, that's dope, brother. And it's hard.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we talked about, the socks and like what like the brand itself. And you said you were now transitioning into knitwear. How did that transition come about? Is it something, yeah, how did that come about for you?
Yeah, so my elevator pitch for Staffon Eugene is Ralph Lauren started with neckties. Staffon Eugene starts with socks.
Mm,
So with that elevator pitch, my goal is to really convey the whole the whole vibe. You know what I mean? Socks is just the starting point, but the the goal is to definitely venture off into other product categories, but while still allowing socks to be the leading product category for the world of Staffon Eugene. Most people don't know that that's how Ralph Lauren started and look at where it is today. And, that's not to say, I don't want anybody to get it confused that I'm trying to duplicate what Ralph Lauren has done. Ralph Lauren is he and I am me. So, but I just want to use that example as, the essence of how far I'm going to take it.
yeah. I didn't know that. You putting me on so much game right now, brother, with the fashion stuff. I didn't know that Ralph Lauren started with neckties, and now it has its own world. It's its own brand. Man, that's crazy. So when it comes to, so like, let's say talk to me like a 5-year old, and when it comes to like the process of like the design process to the final product, like how does that work? Granted, you can talk to me like me because I don't know anything about it. So how does that work? From like when I did hit your head to like you getting into making it happen. How did that work? That process look like?
Yeah. So when I first started the brand, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not the best sketcher.
Hmm.
I never was, and still to this day, I'm still not the best sketcher, but I would just do my best to convey what it was that was in my head with my initial designs. And so when I really locked in on some design ideas that were very like intricate and detail oriented, I would tap in with a few different artists that I knew. One in particular, this guy I went to high school with named Jonah. Shout out to Jonah. You know, I locked in with him like, hey, this is the design. And, you know, I had him sketch it out by hand. And then from there, I would take the sketch and I would find an illustrator, a graphic designer to create the computer version so that I could then take the computer version and send it, well, share it with my factory so that they could, you know, make my samples. So when I first started, that was my process, and that was kind of long and drawn out. And as the years have gone on, I have gotten better at certain steps. Like, for example, the graphic part. Now I know I'm pretty good at using Adobe Illustrator for my particular use case. So, you know, I know how to get in there and draw out whatever kind of product it is that I want to design at the moment, whether it's socks or shirt or, you know, jackets, shorts. I know how to get in there and play with it enough. So I've been able to, like, you know, cut out the middleman, if you will. And so now, you know, I just sketch everything out on the computer and then share it with the factories that I have within my Rolodex. And I have them create the samples for me. Once the samples are created, you know, they ship them to me. And then I do what's called product, you know, quality control, make sure that the sample is to my standards, to my client standards. And then, you know, once that's approved, then I send a message that it's a go. And then we do the full production
Mm,
order. So with the socks, everything is up front,
mm,
no drop ship. You know, I order in bulk and I negotiate with the factories that I do business with on, you know, the pricing and everything like that. Now with the knitwear currently, I do sometimes have small quantities on hand so that, you know, whenever I go to like a vendor event or something like that, people can shop with me. Currently at the moment, I just have samples for people to try on just to make sure that, you know, everything fits them appropriately. But for the most part, the knitwear is made to order.
mm,
So, you know, you submit an order and give it about 2 to 3 weeks from
mm.
the point of place an order to it being at your doorstep.
Oh, okay, man. It's a while. First, shout out to Jonah. Shout out to Jonah. You know, helping you in those early days. And I do think it showed like a little bit about you, like the fact that like you are like, you know, aware enough to over the time, like to start your own sketch, to start learning how to like do it a little bit. Obviously not the best, but you know, it's one of those things you can be self-sufficient enough to cut out that extra step and, you know, just start doing it yourself. I think that's dope. And when it comes to, I guess, your factory. So one thing that I know you pride yourself on, and it's something I do want to ask you about, is that it's like you say you're like a luxury sock brand. So what does like luxury mean to you, like personally? Like what does that mean? And when you say that, like we're a luxury brand.
Man, that's a great question. And that, you know, the word luxury has actually evolved for me over the years. You know, like when I first got into fashion, luxury for me was whatever the designers who I was into at the time said it was. Like Tom Ford historically was my favorite fashion designer. I
Mhm.
say historically because since I've been locked in on building Staffon Eugene, I'm my own favorite fashion designer.
Yeah.
So luxury present day, and I'm still carving it out, but one thing I can say is that luxury is being in control of the most important aspects of your life.
Mm,
You know, that's luxury to me. I'm a proud father and husband. So having the luxury of time to spend time with my family and not feel like I gotta be in a rush to put stuff out. I can put stuff out on my own time, and I trust that because I trust in my skill set and my unique vision enough that I know that, when my product hit the market, the right people gonna rock with it.
And I have this as someone who's purchased some stuff from before. I think I mean, I know the quality is there. I can tell you take your time with it, and like how you said, you the samples coming to you, you make sure it's up to your standard. And I know your standard is high because the quality is there for sure. And so like you kind of answered this question in a sense, but maybe you can go a little bit more into it. So you said Tom Ford historically is one of your favorite designers. So is that someone who you would say inspires you, and like when you create your work, or has inspired you?
For sure, for sure, for sure. What's interesting about Tom Ford is one of my favorite things about him is that he walked that fine line between being a hell of a creative, but also having great business acumen. So, just a side note, in addition to me having the brand, I also do fashion content where I talk about fun facts about the fashion industry. And I also have a fashion podcast that's called Garments and Tycoons. It's the same thing, but it's just more in depth. And I actually one of my first episodes, real episodes, was about Tom Ford. So, for those of y'all watching, head over to Staffon Eugene on YouTube, and the podcast is housed on the Staffon Eugene YouTube channel. But the podcast again is called Garments and Tycoons. And so I have a episode where I talk about Tom Ford. And when you go check that out, you'll learn that he did a great job at doing both, the creative and the business side. Um, one of the biggest lures to him is that he was appointed as the creative director of Gucci during a time when the company was struggling. Like at this time, nobody was really checking for Gucci. And Gucci had really diluted its brand reputation. Like they were licensing the Gucci name on matches and just random stuff that didn't make any sense. And so he joined Gucci in the early 90s, and by the mid 90s, he was promoted to creative director. And the significance of that is that they also had a new CEO, a guy named Domenico. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing his name right, but Domenico De Sole. And so, with Domenico being the CEO and Tom Ford being the creative, they transformed Gucci around like tremendously. Just to put it into perspective of how much they turned things around in the early 90s, late 80s, a man by the name of Bernard Arnault, he is the CEO of LVMH, which is the parent company of Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy. It's a large conglomerate. So in the at late 80s, early 90s, Bernard had the opportunity to buy Gucci, but he passed on it. So fast forward to the late 90s when Gucci is under the reins of Tom Ford, and sales are up. It's
Hmm.
booming. Mind you, social media is not a thing at this time. You can see Gucci products on the red carpets of every major award show, etc. So by this time, Bernard Arnault attempts to do a hostile takeover so that he could, forcefully take over Gucci and make it be a part of LVMH. But Tom Ford and his business partner, Domenico De Sole, they were able to fight him off. And
Mm.
it was that, what word am I looking for? It was that encounter, if you will, that led Domenico and Tom Ford to start the Gucci Group and become a conglomerate of their own. The Gucci Group has evolved over the years. Today, we know it as Kering. So, Kering is a conglomerate of its own, and it consists of Gucci, Saint Laurent, Balenciaga,
Mm.
McQueen, and what's another one? A suit brand called Brioni. So, with all of that being said, and me knowing this when I first got into fashion, my mom is who actually put me on to Tom Ford.
Oh.
We were having a conversation when I was like a junior in high school, and I was expressing to her, like, I would love to be a designer for a major fashion house or whatever. And I said to her, I said these exact words. I was like, but I don't know how realistic that would be because I don't think that they hire Americans. And she was like, no, look up this guy named Tom Ford. He actually from Austin. And
Mm.
he worked at Gucci, and so from there it was up. Like I was just really drawn towards the Tom Ford aesthetic.
Mm.
It was at the time he was really specializing in suits, and also at that time I had always said that when I started my brand, I would design suits also.
Mm.
And so, yeah, the aesthetic of his brand is just what really intrigued me. It was clean lines, slim fit, peak lapels. I just love the colors that he incorporated into his aesthetic and everything like that. So, that combined with his business acumen, which business acumen has always been something that's been super important. And I've always known the importance of. And I credit again my mom for the rap music that that she was into. She was a big time Jay-Z fan. And, if you know anything about Jay-Z's music, you know that ownership
Mm.
and things like that has always been a high vocal point in his music and in his business dealings. The story of how Rockefeller, the original label, was created because none of the record labels would would sign him. So they created their own label. So I just really champion that mindset with everything that I do. Growing up in Houston historically hasn't been like a focal point in the fashion industry like New York or LA. So all of this that I do, with the knitwear, with the socks, this is me self-taught. Nobody put me on to this. Even with my degree from Texas State, that kind of helped me. It enlightened me to a little bit of the business, but as far as the creative that I do, this is all me.
Man. Hey, moms came through with the battery in the back, man. Shout out, put you on Tom Ford, put you on music. Hey, man, shout out to all the moms out there. We love the moms, big time, big time. So, I mean, maybe this might, like, basically, I just probably answer this question too. But so, starting a business of any kind is difficult. It's got to be resilient. You got to be kind of like diligent, really. So who would you say has supported you along the way? And like you said, in Houston specifically, fashion isn't like a LA, not like a New York. It's not at the focal point of many industries. Um, so like along this journey, who has been supporting you?
Man, I'm finna go down a long list because I'm sure they all gonna give me a hard time if I leave any of them out. I mean, man. So first and foremost, like I said, my mom, but my wife been very supportive of this journey. Um, all my partners, you know a few of them: Chris Wood, Mike D. Cam, the usual suspects from Texas State. Um, all my LBs, man, Morgan, Kennedy, Candace, like I'm like my Morgan, my whole squad. Um, Merche, I had man, I'm telling you, I gotta name all these names because if
And
I leave anybody out, they gonna come at me. But and I've done a video on this recently. Well, not too long ago, but I've seen some business owners online get on and vent that they felt that people in their network are more quick to support celebrities and people that they don't know before they support them. And, I've done a video, it's a couple at this point, expressing my gratitude because I can't relate to that at all. Oh yeah, another name I forgot to mention, my boy Paris. Like there's not a single person in my close knit of people that don't have a pair of Staffon Eugene socks and or one of the knitwear pieces. And that's not by force, it's just naturally. You know what I mean? Like the support has been there, it's been genuine. I'm blessed for that. You know what I mean? So yeah, all my day ones been very supportive.
we love that, brother. It takes a village, man. Takes a village big time, especially what we do, bro. Not we. I'm not in the fashion industry, but when you're in that space of trying to create something, it can be lonely, it can be dark, it can be, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah, no, even for what you do, yeah, it takes a village.
yeah, it takes a village, man. So, I love how you can give the opposite point of view. Like you said, like there's some truth to that. Though some people would rather support somebody they don't know or somebody who's already more like established, than support somebody who they growing with. But it's great that you're able to be living proof of the opposite. Like, no, actually, like, like my homies, like they support me. My family supports me. People that I know support me. And I love support. It's just why I started this whole thing, support and give. I think it's important just to support people that you admire, people that you see also on the come up as well. And yeah, bro, it's speaking of being on the come up, you kind of already touched on it, but I like so when we talk about like 10-year plans or 5-year plans. It sounds like maybe I'm mistaken, but the plan for Staffon Eugene, the brand is, socks not going anywhere, but socks is like the trailblazer. But where is Staffon Eugene 2030?
Man, so by 2030, the goal is to have some sort of brick and mortar storefront where people can experience and pick up on the vibe, in person, still having a strong online presence. Also, by then, I'm hoping to have figured out a way to marry the apparel with digital media content. I really because I've gotten to a point where I really enjoy doing fashion focused content. It took me a while to get there to even get in front of the camera because I've always been more of a behind the scenes type of person. And even, sort of had some anxiety around being in front of the camera and putting myself out there. But, I just got to a point where I had to tell myself, look, I love my brand more than I am shy or camera shy. You know what I mean? So it just is what it is.
Yeah, man, it's like you having that belief in the brand and the love for it and the package. You put your passion into it. So like like that outweighs whatever anybody can say about it. You know what I'm saying? Because like you know what it means to you, and you know how much care you put into it. You know how much love that goes into it. Man, brother, I hate that we got to end this pretty soon. We've had to, but you put me on so much game, brother. You enlightened me in many ways. I can't wait. I can't wait to share these fun facts. I got so many to share. But now that Gucci one was why I didn't realize that. I didn't realize Tom Ford and Gucci were even like a thing at one point. I didn't know. Granted, I don't know anything when it comes to fashion. I'm still learning.
Yeah, man. I'll die on the, well, I'm not gonna die on the hill, but I mean, I'll argue that Tom Ford is the reason that Gucci is what it is today.
I mean, it sounds like it. It sounds like without Gucci. I mean, without Tom Ford, Gucci wouldn't be Gucci. So
Yeah.
I think that's yeah, man. I keep going. But all right, so let's so how can people find you? So we already gave a shout out to the podcast. Let's give a shout out to the podcast again and the social media that you're on, website.
Yeah, man. So I'm on TikTok, Staffon Eugene, Staffon, Eugene, Eugene, TikTok, Instagram. But between Staffon and Eugene, it's an underscore. And yeah, YouTube. And that's it. You know, of course, there's so many. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
the website too.
a lot of different social media platforms out there, but I try not to overwhelm myself, and I just try to focus on those three, and just kind of share some of the same content on each one because I recognize that some people out there that use one more than the other two, or vice versa.
And people want to place an order, just hit the website, which is
StaffonEugene.com. Yep. And again, the socks made, produced in bulk. I have that inventory, but with the knitwear pieces, and this is the original colorway, but I also have I think three or four other colorways as well, and just other knitwear designs. So with the knitwear, you can place the order on the website, but give it 3 to 4 weeks to ship to you. And the fit is normal. So whatever your normal shirt size is, I say that's what you get. These aren't oversized. Now I do have an oversized product. It's the long sleeve where I have the logo extending to the sleeve. That one is an oversized fit, but everything else is more of a tailored fit.
perfect. And one thing I do want to highlight, I think it's important to say that the socks and the is unisex. You can,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I've seen that. You have the slouch socks. I've seen those are super fire. So they are unisex for sure. I can vouch for that. I've seen it in action.
Yeah. I'm sorry if I left that part out. I'm usually pretty good about mentioning the fact that they're unisex, but yes, men and women both enjoy Staffon Eugene products. I've also had some couples come to me and tell me that they like argue over the socks. Have argued over the socks. So I love that.
Yeah, it's funny. Man, it's been a pleasure, brother. Thank you so much for meeting with me, man. Thank you for being a part of supporting Give, brother. Like this is our second time doing this is our second business that we, want to spotlight. Like I said, I've been a fan of you for a long time. And, and it makes sense, 2015 and it's now 2025, brother. We've been pushing, keeping on. And now look at you,
For
brother.
sure, bro. I appreciate the highlight, man. I appreciate you for, you know, allowing me to enter your space. It really means a lot. And I love everything you're doing as well. Keep going.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate you, brother.